Hi there, this is Jennifer. You may have guessed by the thumbnail that we are headed to the bins today, so let's go there. All right, we're here at the Goodwill bins today. We call it the bargain barn in my neck of the woods, but for the sake of YouTube, we will continue to call it the bins. It's just the most common name. I'm gonna walk over here and grab this cart because if I don't, oftentimes there's not a cart inside. So I'd like to have a cart to do my shopping today. My goal today is to find some great things to upcycle, then go home and upcycle them immediately and get a video up tonight. I'll have a big reveal in my voiceover and let you know if that's what actually happened. Sometimes on Sunday I feel like I don't find a lot of great things. I don't know why. It doesn't seem to be super crowded today because there are a lot of parking spots available. That's usually a pretty good barometer of how things are going to go in here. And right next to our bin store is the actual regular Goodwill. And I rarely actually make it in there because of the fact that the prices are just a little exorbitant at times. So here we go. And I was right, we didn't have a cart. So I'm trying to not show you people's faces. Just show you stuff, not people. And eventually, I'll switch over to a voiceover because it gets weird talking to yourself in these places for me. And as soon as I find something to put in my cart that I want, I usually put my cart somewhere safe and just walk to it when I need to put something in it. There's a few things I'm definitely in search of. Definitely going to take this. There's a couple things I'm in search of, and those are oh look, now these I'm going to get because, the Santa Claus mold, the IOD Santa Claus mold, we are doing those in my next library class, which is a great value for the patrons because I sold the ones I made for $50 a piece, so they're getting a $50 project for free. So those frames and that candle ring made their way into my cart. I'm going to keep on looking in these bins. I do spend about a half hour in the bins this time, and I got several of those frames, and I found another stack of similar frames later on in my thrifting adventure. I always look at the artwork. I love the artwork. I really love that elephant, but I have absolutely no use for it. And then I decide also that I'm going to look a little closer at those big magnolias over there. They look like magnolias anyway. I love the style. I love the colors. That's something that I would actually love to put on my porch, on my front porch. These are my colors, blue and yellow and white, and I actually love that, but do I need it? No, I really don't. And I don't have a place to put it without taking something else down. So we're going to keep looking in these bins. The bins were pretty crowded this day, so I just sort of kept low and filmed discreetly. Here we have a Scrabble game now. Is anybody going to buy this Scrabble game? Probably not. It's missing a lot of the pieces. It's missing the racks for the letters. And I see these things being picked through every single time I'm at the bins. I take the letters. I don't need anything else. And you're going to see I have quite the extensive collection of letters because I have intentions of doing something at the library with these. In fact, I think it's going to be one of those months that there's no holiday, there's no season really to craft for, and we're going to make like a crossword puzzle type thing for our families at the library. I don't need that clock. It's plastic. If it were metal, I totally would have picked it up. I love to upcycle alarm clocks. I think they're super cute. And they make some really nice upcycles. I don't know what those things were. They were maybe sandpaper, I don't know. I am sort of in the market for floor lamps, but I didn't need any of those ones. I am keeping my eye out for some good floor lamps because I need more lighting in my house because my eyes require it these days. I find this paper, and I'm always picking up paper. We do a lot of paper crafting at the library, and if we don't have any paper crafts, and I have an excessive amount of paper, I send it up to my sister in Ohio because she loves to do junk journaling. So in this pile of paper, I also find some photo paper, and it's the kind that I love. It's super, super matte. The brand that I like to buy from Amazon is Canon, and it looks to be exactly like what I buy on Amazon. So there's that stack of photo paper. That definitely goes in my cart. And I try to pick up whole sheets of paper. I don't want to buy the ones that have been cut. But I do pick, oh look, there's Sandy Claus. Now that is completely appropriate since I live in Southwest Florida. And we're crafting for Christmas in this video, just FYI, because I do go home and start crafting with this stuff immediately. Takes me a little longer than I thought it would to get a video up, but that was because I played into my own frustration. Don't do that. If you're frustrated with something and a project isn't going your way, put it aside and stop, okay? Just don't do it. It's really not worth it. It just robs you of your joy. So don't do that. The bins have been sort of dry. Every time I film, it's like this. Every time I film, I don't get great things, but any other day I do. I've been looking for hearts, like heart-shaped anything, but these just didn't quite speak to me. I didn't know what I would do with them. They're totally the wrong color. But we do have a show at the end of January, so I do have to play towards Valentine's Day a little bit. And my latest art piece, Waffles and Ginger, go well on anything heart-shaped. I have nothing left from our last two shows with Waffles and Ginger on it. So, especially if it was heart-shaped. If it was heart-shaped, it sold. So, looking for anything heart-shaped. Plates, baskets, wall hangings. I love this little frame. I definitely put that in my cart, and it doesn't have to have anything done to it to work. This, for some reason, this clock just really spoke to me. I liked the artwork well enough, and I liked elements about it. I don't like Roman numerals on a clock per se, so this clock is going to come up in the future in a DIY. It doesn't make its way in this video, but it's definitely going to be seen again. I don't know when, but in the future is about as clear as I can be. I always look at the furniture. This is already sold apparently, so I couldn't tell you the price, but normally things like this cost $5 or $10 at the bins. I noticed that furniture has gone up slightly, but it's still a super great deal, and a lot of it is in really good shape. Now these make their way into this video for sure. These are just some cute little food containers. They remind me of Chinese food boxes, first of all. And then secondly, they remind me of little baskets. And they just definitely scream beaded handle to me, so keep that in mind. And they did that all along. I was like, those just really need a handle on them, and they also look like Chinese food, which also has a handle on them. All right, I also find this bin of material, and I do take a stack of this fabric because I love to make little pillows, and you've seen me do that in previous videos. Just little like maybe 4-inch by 6-inch pillows. People use them in their tiered trays. I sell a lot of them, so that definitely makes its way in my cart, that material. And I don't need like really big swatches of it, just small little swatches, so those will work just fine. And I saw a lot of like farmhouse materials in there. I try to keep my camera trained down because I really don't want to film people. Apparently I like to film their feet, but I go back and look at that material again because I do grab another handful of it Like I said, it doesn't take a lot to make the pillows that I make, so small swatches of fabric are actually really great for a couple reasons. Then I can have a lot of fabric on hand without having yards and yards of the same fabric that I'm probably not going to use anytime soon. I have yards and yards of fabric that I'm not going to use anytime soon that I need to box up and send to Chloe. Now, step one was to go get a box from the post office. So I did that. Now we'll see how well I do with sending it. This was just plastic junk, so I put it back. I didn't get it. Super lightweight, and it had, fruit on it. It's not really my thing. I don't even know. Is that from the 70s? Like, what is that stuff? I don't know. Anyway, now something I was interested in. Look, they have a putting green at the bins today if you want it. That's pretty cool. I do pick up this little manger scene here, this nativity. I like it because it's intact. The pieces are glued in, so they're not going anywhere. I noticed when I got home that actually the baby Jesus was zip tied into his manger. I thought that was pretty effective. It's like, it's a car seat. Who knew? And I also find these doilies, and I go ahead and take those too. Those are great for staging things, or just to put in a basket, tucked into a basket with within one of your vignettes that you make around your house. In these fall bins, there's these little tiny terracotta pots. I don't need any of those fall florals. I don't need any of that stuff, so I leave it all there, but I do grab a couple of these terracotta pots. Those always come in handy for crafting. You never know when you might need a couple of those. I look at these Christmas trees because I was interested in the red buckets a little bit, but the Christmas trees were just really mounted in there really well. They weren't coming out, and I just didn't want to mess with them, so I left them there. And pay attention to that gold star. It's coming back, and you're just going to have to pay attention in this video and tell me when you see that gold star. So leave a comment and let me know where that gold star appears in this video later on. Here's the scrapbook paper that I bought. This is just going to go in my paper stash, and when I need it, I'll pull it out. Like I said, sometimes we do some paper crafting at the library, and that's always fun. I always try to keep myself in a surplus of materials for the library, because the last thing I want to do is be scrambling, the week of a project, not knowing what we're going to do. So I always try to have those mapped out for the next few months. So I did get quite a bit of paper. I always love it when I find useful paper, like photo paper or labels, something like that. And there's that manger. It's old. It could definitely use a glow up for sure. So we're going to work on that in this video for sure. We're also going to work on these porcelain bowls. I just think they're so pretty. I love the shape of them, but for right now, I don't love the writing on them. It says, "Eat, drink, and be merry." That bag is pretty full of Scrabble letters. We're going to put those in my stash. And I'm going to save that bag because it's a nice velvet bag, and I thought we could make a nice Santa bag with that sometime during the Christmas season, so I'll definitely do that. Those little jack-o'-lanterns, they're definitely not going to stay jack-o'-lanterns. Don't know quite what I'm going to do with them, but I do have a couple ideas floating around in my head. I love that dainty little frame. I'm probably just going to put like a shabby chic type picture in there. Maybe I'm thinking like a Victorian lady, something like that. There's that candle ring. Don't have a project in mind for that yet. And there's that clock. I do have a project in mind for that. It's coming. So we'll see about that. We'll put that away for now. And then I wanted to show you my big pile of frames, and this is significant because I spent $18 at the bins on this visit, and I got 18 frames plus all the other stuff, and these frames are going straight to the library next month. We're going to be working on that IOD Santa mold. If you watched my video, I think 3 videos ago, I painted that mold. We did a a beautiful portrait out of him. And we have the opportunity to do that at the library because we have a great donor who donated the resin to do that. So that's a big deal. The girls are super excited. My class is December 7th, whatever the first Saturday of December is, and it's already full. It's been full for a week. So yay. Now, the first thing I did with that photo paper that I picked up at the bins was I took it inside and I printed out my favorite art piece, my bestseller right here. His name's Bovine. He is by far and away my bestseller, and I wanted to use that photo paper up right away. I also had bought these frames at the bins a few trips ago, and anytime I see frames that don't need anything done to them, I pick them up. And I just happened to find 3 of the same frame. They were brand new, still had their factory picture in them, and so I grabbed all 3 of them. And as soon as I saw the photo paper, I knew exactly what I was going to do. I was going to come home and print these bovines and put them in these frames. For my big prints, I definitely use G-Clay prints, but for a small frame that I can print at home up to an 8x10, I print from home because G-Clay prints are expensive, and I don't really want to pass that cost on to my customer, so I do print smaller prints at home. I bought my photo printer with that in mind. And this is not even an upcycle. This is not anything but putting pictures in frames. But I wanted to show you that part of efficiency and keeping up with shows that we have in the future involves me putting these things together when I get the chance. So I try to do that. I just don't want to create for YouTube, even though, believe me, everything that I make on YouTube is going to a show with me, and, God willing, it will sell. But in the meantime, I do try to focus on my artwork and keep myself in stock with artwork so that when a show comes, I'm ready to go. There's nothing worse than, trying to get ready for a show 2 weeks from a show. So you should not do that. So here we go. I have 3 of those all ready to go. I love that frame, and he just looks so handsome in those frames. Okay. Now we're going to work on this manger. This was old, definitely like probably 70s, 80s type old. It has the Spanish moss all stuck to the top of it. It looks yucky and messy. So I'm just taking a scraper. I'm scraping that off. It comes right off. It was begging to come off of there. It just knew it didn't belong. So I'm also pulling this little piece of burlap from the back. We're not gonna need that. I really don't want there to be anything like fabric or soft on here because it's dirty and yucky and old. So we'll clean it up the best we can. Start off by just scraping all that Spanish moss off. I'm not necessarily worried about the Spanish moss that's in the manger itself, and I do take a lot of that out, but I'm not super worried about that. I mean, that's what you would expect the inside of the manger to look like, right? Like, I'm sure it wasn't squeaky clean. I'm sure of that. I just can't do Christmas without having a nativity. This won't be my main nativity in my house, that's for sure. My main nativity is sort of different and unusual, and I can't wait to show you. Anyway, so I'm putting a roof on this manger. I think it will just add a little, I don't know, it'll definitely be a glow up from what it is now. It'll definitely look more substantial and put together and maybe safer for a baby to be born in. But I'm using tongue depressor sticks that I have cut into like 1-inch squares. I'm just using hot glue to stagger them all over the roof like wood shingles would. And then I'm going to use some antique wax to make them match the rest of the stable. So they're going to be the same color. They're going to be that dark brown that antique wax gives us. I'm looking it over now to make sure that I have everything out of there that I want out of there. I do have to go back in and scrape some more of that Spanish moss out because I don't like the way that looks. I did release baby Jesus from his car seat, his zip tie seatbelt, and I hot glued him in instead. So he's definitely not going anywhere now. And like I said, I'm just using this antique wax to color those shingles so that they match the rest of the stable there. I'm not going to make you watch me do that entire thing. We all know how to do that. I'm just wiping it back with a wet baby wipe so that it dries faster and a little bit lighter. I actually like the way this turns out. It is such a simple little fix for, you know, something that was old and definitely had seen better days. But I want to use it, and I have a certain spot in mind for it when I start to decorate for Christmas. I also just touch up everything I think that could need a little refreshing with my antique wax there. Who knew you use antique wax to make something look newer? How is that possible? I don't know. Anyway, I had some things I wanted to talk to you about. Oh, first of all, I wanted to let you know that at my last eye doctor's appointment, y'all know I've been struggling with vision. I had a dramatic loss of vision, whatever. Anyway, I read from the 2020 line. So that is a huge answer to prayer, and I thank all of you who had been praying for me. It's just really such a miracle, and I'm so thankful. You know, I have myopic macular degeneration, and I have a few other things going on with my eyes, and I'm always going to have those things, and that's okay. But I do prefer to have stable vision, and God has definitely given me more stable vision, so I'm thankful for that. I also take that brown wax and I wax those, the characters themselves, because they looked a little too new and too white and a little too generic. So I think adding some wax really gave them more character. It hid a lot of the flaws that were in the paint job. Whoever painted them didn't do a fantastic job. So now I'm ready to work on these porcelain bowls. And the first thing I have to do is drill holes in the sides of them, because I am going to put a wooden bead handle on here, but I can't do that without holes in the sides. So if you've ever drilled through porcelain, you know that it's sort of a process. We're using a diamond drill bit. So in other words, it's shaped like a diamond, and we have to keep our porcelain wet as we go. And I have tape there. Basically, the tape is just making it so the bit doesn't slide right off the porcelain. And see, you want to go in from an angle, just like I'm doing there. I've kept this slower so that you can see exactly how it goes here. And as you go deeper into the porcelain, you're going to decrease your angle until you have your drill going in straight. So as you get deeper into the porcelain, you're straightening up your drill. I hope you can see that. And you're also mindful to re-wet the porcelain. So you want to keep it wet as you go. And believe me, it does get hot. It gets hot. In fact, when you pour the water on it, you can sort of hear it sizzle. Anyway, I go all the way through each side of all of those. Oh, and look, I just wanted to show you all my Scrabble pieces I added to my protein canister there. Now, to get those words off of these bowls, I am just using 80 grit sandpaper in my sander, and I'm sanding those words right off. Worked like a charm. Now I'm going to use some IOD transfers. This is the latest IOD Christmas release, I think. You'll recognize it if you know it. Anyway, I'm going to cut these little transfers that are perfect for these bowls out. I need 4 of them. I was debating about whether or not I would use these for Christmas or our spring shows or whatever, and I decided to use them for Christmas because I love the way these little transfers were going to fit right where I wanted them, first of all, And second of all, I may have kept them for Valentine's Day, except I forgot that Valentine's Day was going to be a thing at our January show. So if I had remembered that, I may have spared them for Valentine's Day, but I'm sure I'll find more of something I can use. Anyway, I can't really show myself transferring them because I put them on the inside, as you can see. And I did that because of the incline. The way these bowls are, they're very deep and very slanted, and I thought that this would be sort of an unexpected surprise, and I really love them that way. So now I'm getting my beads ready. I'm going to use some red beads. I have some white beads and some small wood beads that we are going to use to make beaded handles on these porcelain bowls. I'm just getting my beads ready. I decide over time that my combination and the way that I'm going to do this changes, but you know, sometimes that happens when you're crafting. Things change. We just roll with it, you know, we have to be flexible. Okay, so the first one I'm going to make, I only make one of these on camera, and then you'll see how the others turn out, and we'll talk about that as we go, why they might look a little bit different one from another. You see I have these small wood beads and I have these white beads. I also have this wire. This came from the Home Depot. It comes on a roll and you just cut it to the length that you want. This is about a foot long, this particular wire. I'm going to start with a big white bead. You can see I put one white bead on there, and now I'm putting 7 of my small wood beads on that wire. So you can guess that the white bead is going to be the center of the bow, and those wood beads are going to form the first loop of the bow. I haven't sped this up because I wanted you to see this in real time so you could get it. So now I have one white bead and I have 7 or 8 wood beads on there. I'm going to bend my wire and I'm going to put the end through the white bead. See how I did that? And as I do that, that first loop of my bow forms. And you want to pull it tight, so you want to arrange your beads so that the beads themselves aren't stopping you from pulling that wire tight. Now hear me. Do not mess with the wire any more than you have to, because it can break, and it did break, and it does break. And you're going to see that. That's why this project has various bows, and one of them doesn't have a bow because a wire broke at the exact wrong time for me, and I just didn't redo it. So you'll see that at the end, but I'm forming the second bow, the second loop of my bow, same way. I used 8 beads. I'm putting the wire through the other half of my white bead. So now you can see those wires there are going to form the tails of my bow. I'm going to use the same wood beads. I'm going to use 8 of those or 7 of those or however many I use to form the tails of my bow. I'm going to string those right on there. Super simple. It's just several steps, but you can see how it should be, and as you make it, you'll see it come together. Now, to close off my tail of my bow, I take the wire, I fold it onto itself once, and then I loop the end of my wire around that loop that I created. And I hope you can see that. And then I'm just going to trim that and make it nice and tight so it doesn't have a sharp edge on it. I do show you on the second one. I do keep it in the frame on the second one. It's so hard because I need to see it very close in order to do this. I should be working under a magnifier is what I should do, but I did not do that. So there's my first tail, and now I'm going to show you better how I do the second tail. I think I do manage to keep it in frame for you the second time. But here I go with the second tail. Obviously, I'm just going to put the same number of beads on that second tail. It's 7 or 8, however many it was. And these beads are beads that I pulled from a purse years and years ago. I bought a beaded purse at the bins, and I've been using these beads for literally probably 5 years. Probably down to the end of them soon. See how I fold, I crimp that wire at the end there so that it's a loop, and then with the leftover wire, I'm going to show you because I'm going to hold the end with my needle nose pliers there, and as I hold that end loop, I'm going to wrap the extra wire around that loop, and then I'm going to trim it down. And I like it because it makes a nice, neat finish, and I'm not bothered by the fact that you can see the wire because it actually looks very neat and very well done. So there's my bow. That's the bow for my beaded handle. And now you can see, if you can imagine, I'm going to put a wire through the back of that bow. So I'm going to put one more wire through that middle bead, and I want the wire to be in back of the bow. If you can't get your wire through that bead using your fingers, you can pull with your needle nose pliers just like I do here, and you can also knock your beads over if that's what you want to do. Apparently that's what I wanted to do. So now I'm picking up my beads. And now I'm going to make the handle of for my bowl. Now, I didn't want the bow to be exactly in the middle. I wanted it to be more on the side. So on the first side there, I put 6 beads. And the reason I didn't really want it to be in the middle, I didn't want it to cover the picture because I thought it was such a whimsical thing to put the picture inside the bowl. Now, the bead I want to rest on the rim of the bowl. I do not want it on the side or on the inside of my bowl. I want it to rest on top. So I'm arranging my handle so that the bottom of my bead rests on the rim of the bowl. And at this point, you don't have to worry about it being super tight because you can tighten everything up from the other side. So it might seem a little floopy when you're working on it on the first side, but don't worry, when you get to the second side, you can tighten it up. Same thing here. I sent the wire from the inside to the outside, and then I pulled it tight, and then I wrapped it around itself at the bottom of the bead. I wrapped the wire around itself at the bottom of the bead about 5 or 6 times, and then I trimmed it off, and then I crimped it tight with my needle nose pliers. Now, same thing here. On this side, instead of putting 6 beads, I'm putting 8 beads because when I arrange my handle, I want my bow to be more on one side than the other. I want it to be off center, in other words. I just really love the way that looks better. I think it just looks more whimsical, and it gives your eyes more opportunity to see what's on the inside of the bowl. Now I'm taking the end of my wire, I'm sending it to the outside from the inside, and when I get it outside, I'm going to tighten it up. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to make sure that the bottom of that bead rests on the top of the bowl, not the inside or the outside of the bowl. And then I'm just going to wrap the wire around itself 5 or 6 times and trim it off again. No big deal, right? Hey, if you love what you see on this channel, could you please like, share, subscribe, comment, all of those things. And I hope you identified the star that I asked you about. At the very end of my bins trip, I found a star, and it made its way onto one of my projects. I hope that you saw it, and leave me a comment. Tell me where it was. This is the end of our video. This is how